Come with me if you want a list.
Folks, welcome to an impromptu edition of Real Estate Experts. I'm about to interview and share with you an interview that I impromptu did, and it was about a complaint about real estate agents and a big online pylon that happened. And I'm going to show you the pylon. I'm going to show you the commentary, and I'm going to comment on where I think the public maybe got it wrong, where I cut the public some slack, where I think it was a bit of an online mob, and how the real estate agents compose themselves in the face of the online equivalent of a violent protesting mob with picket signs and pitchforks and flaming pitchforks. It was not pretty, and the way these agents composed themselves in a manner, it was very, very, let's just say I wouldn't have been as classy as them. Let me throw to the interview. Enjoy. Green, hello, gang. How are we? All right, so let's have a yarn about some. Just a bit fair. I realised Frankie's was still the real estate case were harsh, and we are going to discuss. So let me just get rid of that screen because I'll bring up the article that we can debate and have a look at. And yeah, see, you guys may disagree with me, that you guys may think that these real estate agents were in the wrong. I happen to, well, I think morally they're in the right, but I even think legally anything other than what they did, we'll get to what I mean about all this, but in my opinion, legally, anything other than what they did would have been illegal. So it's kind of like, yeah, they copped it for all the wrong reasons. But, that's the thing, to set the context. That is the real estate industry. And it was, I can't remember when it was, but it was, I think, a couple of years ago. And I think it was on Channel 10. It was on one of the TV stations where they did a discussion, and it said that real estate agents were the least liked, the least trusted, the least respected vocation in society. So, that's the frame from which we start, is that the world hates real estate agents. So possibly because, a lot of people have had a crack at real estate. It didn't work out for them and they left, because it is way more difficult than most people assume. Most people assume it's opening up a house, pointing at the granite bench tops and the toilet and saying that's the dunny and that's the granite bench tops, you want to buy it, and people buy it, and people think, if that's what it is, I'm in. Give me some of these, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 commission checks. Thanks. And then when they find out that the real estate industry has really glorified telemarketing for a couple of years in order to get any semblance of momentum to find a house to sell, people get in the industry, find out it's tough, leave the industry, and maybe they're left with a sour taste in their mouth, understandably so, because it's tougher than most people think. Or they buy a house through a real estate agent. And in Queensland, back when I used to list and sell real estate, and believe me, I didn't like it, by the way. I was pretty good at it, but I didn't like it because I didn't like cold calling up 50 people, getting told to, get lost. And that's the polite way of saying it, 49 times out of 50. And just to get a maybe, give me an update on what my place is worth, and then 1 in 10 of those maybes on what is someone who's going to sell. So I would have to speak to cold, and that was the way I was trained. Cold call 500 people in order to get one person who was thinking of selling that I had the opportunity to pitch to see if I was going to be the one good enough to win their business and be the agent that represents them. So if you've ever made a cold call in any industry, you would know. Can you imagine getting told flat out no 490 times in some way, shape, or form over the course of a month or something, or a week or a fortnight, or whatever the case may be? Our KPIs were we were supposed to do 400 connected calls a week, and I couldn't do it. So can you imagine, though, no matter what the period of time, say you could do 20 a day and you had to do 500. So what's that? Is it 25 days? Yeah. So a month worth of cold calls. And you're getting told, get lost 490 times out of 500. One time out of 50, you're being told, oh, yeah, we're not selling, but if you want to come around and waste your time and give us an update on the value of what our house is worth, then, oh, yeah, you may as well. Or, yeah, I'm being overly dramatic there, of course. And then 1 in 10 of those appraisals is someone who's considering selling. So you're going to speak to 499 people who really aren't interested either at all or only a little bit to get to one person who is selling. Believe me, it ain't the funnest game and gig in town. So what we're talking about today, and I'm going to go through it step by step. There is and I'll share the screen so I can see the article, and this is what we'll be talking about. So this is the article on Perth Now. Perth Property Pair, which is their personal brand. You can search their page and you can find them. Perth Property Pair, real estate forced to defend tone deaf online post showing photo of rammed inspection. So they showed a photo of that. I'm not going to show their Facebook page because I think if you do this and stream this on Facebook, which I am, that Facebook get mad if you show Facebook pages. So I won't show that, but that's the photo that they did with people that were lined up like that. So we're going to discuss that. Oh, actually the agents in question are calling me. You know what? Let me take this call. I'll edit this out later. All right. So I guess what we are, the first thing I wanted to bring you up to speed. So they shared a photo, and by the way, you know, if you do have a look at the guys, you'll see that when they shared this photo, there were like thousands of people jumped on. It was a real one of those typical online pylons. It was a real online pylon, and you know, really, again, like I say, quite unfair in my opinion. And even the headline. So let's start with it and let's sort of go through a few little grabs of what there's been accused of. No, they can't get on, so I'm gonna have to go without you guys. But feel free to watch along on the live, and we might get a comment from you at some stage in the future, guys. So thank you for that. And yeah, unfortunately, they can't jump on with me on the Zoom. So the headline was the first thing that got me. Real estate forced to defend tone deaf online post showing photos of rammed inspection. Now, upon a second viewing, because I read it, a Perth real estate agency forced to defend an online post after it came under harsh scrutiny, blah, blah, blah. They showed a long line of buyers. And then their caption on the photo was market slowing down, question mark. Pfft, not a chance. We had the pleasure of meeting 120 people at our home opens today. The accompanying caption read, fair call. And then the post quickly garnered hundreds, as you can see, reaction, like nearly 1,000 comments, which accused the agents of being out of touch, given the homeowners are battling the prices and all of those things, and you're lapping up the spoils from their misery like the mercenary scum that you are. Another wrote, imagine this being tone deaf and real estate. So just a real typical pylon of Lisa Kayon and Ray DeCosta, who mark themselves as Perth, the property pair. So that's the the crux of it. And I will go through a little more of the article in a moment, but just overall, and the guys, they're in the comments there. So guys, I will continue on my defense of what we're talking about. I might grab you guys at some stage where we've got a bit of time the tech side of things from your perspective ramped up. But and you can certainly put in any commentary in the comments there if I get things wrong. But real estate agents, now this is the first thing in their defense. For them to put up their photo, and because I had some people say, oh, haven't real estate agents ever heard of the Privacy Act? No, if you're out in public, someone's allowed to photograph you. All right, that's it. That is absolutely the case. And frankly, whoever took the photo owns the IP of that photo. Right? They own the IP of that photo. Like when you get married, and guess who, when you get married, owns your wedding photos? It ain't you. It's the photographer. You have to pay the photographer the rights to your own wedding photos. It's how intellectual property works. So, yeah, they're allowed to take a photo of their open home that someone is lining up to get into. And as a real estate agent, it's really hard to get the attention of the consumers. I outlined before how difficult the job is of a real estate agent to get a listing. It is difficult. And so real estate agents should be doing something like this. In fact, I would say to Lisa and Ray, they should be going big thumbs up because they got 1,000 comments and they composed themselves in a manner that was very much more professional than I would have recommended, much more. Because in fact, they even said that the post was, and I don't want to misconstrue their wording, so I will get their wording correctly. Okay, imagine this being tone deaf, all these negative things. And then the reporter tried to call them, and I do have a criticism of the reporter, but the reporter tried to call them, and maybe it was with good intentions. and saying, would you like to respond? Would you like to? And these agents are saying, we weren't trying to make fun of the situation. The post was misinterpreted. It was purely to let the public know the market is still extremely difficult for buyers because of the amount of people going through the home. And what I would say is, that's them guys trying to be politically correct. They're trying to be professional, and they are doing so. But the post wasn't to show buyers that it's very difficult. You know what the post was for? For them to legally do their right job and show home sellers who they represent understand real estate agents have what we call in the law a fiduciary obligation to get the best outcome for the seller whom they represent. All right, now I'm going to talk about that more in a moment. But what, from an agency's business perspective, what they're doing is saying, hey, are you having trouble selling your home? We got 120 buyers lined up who missed out. So if you want to sell your home, best you be calling us because we've got an excess supply of what we call demand. This is Economics 101. So if you are in need of demand by having supply, i.e. if you've got a home you want to sell, we've got 119 people who just missed out on this property. Would you like to call us? That is wise business. That is legal. That is appropriate. Everything about that is the real reason that they would have showcased a very busy, in fact, over the top busy. 120 is a lot of people here, even in the Perth market, but an over the top busy open for what is that is showing? That is showing competence at marketing. Because, yeah, there's 2,000 or 3,000 homes on the market in WA at the moment, 2,000 or 3,000. And they're not marketing their seller's home in a vacuum. They are marketing their seller's home up against 3,000 homes that are available. So it's their legal responsibility to get as many people to that open home as possible. And then if they take a photo that showcases their ability to do so, that's exactly what they should be doing. And Privacy Act doesn't count on that you're standing on a footpath and someone takes a photo of the footpath. You don't have the right to say, no, you can't do that. You know, Privacy Act doesn't cover that. Privacy Act covers that the agent, when you give their details at that open, that they can't go and sell it to a Amway salesman or something. You know what I mean? They've got to protect your private information and not put your name and email address up on the internet and that sort of thing. So that's the first thing, is that when they said it's that post was to inform buyers that it's a difficult market. No, that's not. That's them trying to defend themselves against an unjustified, irresponsible, crazy mob that had just decided to pile on because the world hates real estate agents. That's what that professional positioning that statement that they made was. Let's talk about this fiduciary obligation. These guys have a legal responsibility to do everything that I just said, to get the most people to get that home, that they are representing the needs of that home. Their job is to put that in front of as many people as possible so that 120 people turn up at the open, so that multiple people want to fall in love with it and own it, and then use that competitive environment with highly skilled negotiation strategies to get the most money possible. You can't complain about, and because someone did, there was someone in the post, and look, I'm not going to bring up the post because I don't want to, but there was someone saying, no, you use that to get the highest price possible, to drive the price up. And let me make this statement that I believe is true. I'm no lawyer, so this isn't legal advice, but I believe this statement to be true. Now, they're not allowed to run, I believe, in WA, what they call a Dutch auction. So they can't go to this buyer over here and say, hey, there's another offer at 700, will you offer 720? And then go to another buyer and say, hey, there's another person at 720, will you go 740? That's called a public auction. And so if they were marketing under auction conditions, that's exactly what needs to happen, is there's your bid, your bid, your bid, your bid. But it's public, it's transparent, and it's in public, and everyone can see it. Everyone knows. And so that's the auction method of sale. Then there's the private treaty method of sale, where under multiple offers, and this varies from state to state, but I believe the way I was taught when I was licensed in Queensland, I believe the rules are in WA, because it certainly is in Queensland. The rules over there are everyone needs to be informed they're in a multiple offers situation, and then they're instructed to make their best offer, knowing that they may not have a chance to negotiate further and go more. So you can't just say, here's my multiple offer, then it sells for $20,000 more than that. You can't go back to the agent and whinge and say, oh, I would have paid $20,000 more. They are instructed. This is your best offer. Put it forward. And if you miss out, bad luck. That's kind of the way multiple offers needs to be run. So, and in many of, there's different people that love the auction method of sale by doing it publicly. There are many people who do it privately, and they have different skill sets either way. To do anything other than use the competitive nature of that environment with 120 people lined up at the open house, so every one of them knew that this property was under high demand, there is going to be a premium price that is going to be paid for that property, period. Just supply and demand, economics 101 tells us that. So these agents, not only did they do nothing wrong, but had they have sold the way this crowd who piled on would have wanted them to, had they have caved to that pressure and said to the first buyer who had 690,000 because that's all they could afford, and said, all right, mate, I'm going to give you a fair deal. I'm going to, the owners will be happy with that. I'm going to take your offer to them, and it was accepted without doing what they did, as in adequately marketing it, take it to the whole market, using the environment to get the highest price possible. If they'd done anything other than what they did, they were breaking that fiduciary obligation. And when I was trained, it was described to me that that fiduciary obligation is akin to the client-lawyer relationship, the attorney-client privilege, which is one of the highest duties of care in the law that we have. And so to breach the fiduciary obligation that says you have to, as a real estate agent, get the highest and best outcome for your seller, including one of the articles when I was trained in the Queensland methodology, one of the articles specifically said you will get the highest price that can be achieved for the seller, period. It doesn't say you will get the highest price for your seller so long as some mob of 1,000 idiots on Facebook think it's fair. Now, I apologize for calling those people idiots. I do apologize. No, I do. That was unfair of me. There was a mob on Facebook and they were unfair, but I'm not saying they were idiots. And in fact, I do have some sympathy for that mob, because what they're saying is prices are being driven up. Real estate agents aren't doing it. Supply and demand is. There's normally 10 to 15,000 properties on the market in WA at any one time during a balanced market, or really a buyer's market like it was for 10 years leading up to COVID. Because guess what sparked this market in WA? It all started at COVID. So COVID lockdowns caused a boom in many states across Australia. Many people left Melbourne and Victoria and sort of went everywhere. So Perth boomed, Southeast Queensland boomed, I think regional Queensland, regional New South Wales, all had a massive boom. Promoted by what? Governmental response to the COVID pandemic, right? They set the rules. Now, agree with them or don't agree with them, it does not matter. The government, now many of that mob, you can bet your butt, were the ones saying, close the border, don't let anyone in, respond to COVID exactly where you did, government, great work. Well, guess what? That also sparked this property boom that we are still feeling the effects of. Because Lisa and Ray also even said later in that article that they were surprised because they thought there might have been a bit of a turn because some of the properties they've got aren't getting 120 people through. So this is one, I'm going to get to the critiques of the journalist in a moment, because there is sensationalism involved and there's some real, probably unintended sneaky stuff going on there against real estate agents that is designed to do nothing but get clicks and comments. And I'm contributing to it by me ranting and raving. So getting back to it, we do have them on. They figured it out. I'm going to bring them on. There you go. All I needed to do was give the guys time. So I'm going to bring them on and we will have a chat. Let me finish my rant though. I'm mid, now they can turn on their cam. Okay, so mid rant. Turn on your cam though whenever you want, Lisa. And I don't know if Ray's with her. Yeah, they are. Oh, hello, gang. Hey, guys.
Hello again.
I can hear you very clearly. Thank you. I'm mid rant, so let me finish my rant. I'm sitting here defending your guys' honor right now. I'm like a husband defending a besmirched wife right now, and you two are my wife.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
But it isn't even you guys that I'm defending, because I've never met you guys. You know, again, even as a real estate coach, which I was historically prior to COVID, you guys were never clients of mine. I'm just defending someone who I saw was doing the right thing, who had a pylon mob. So the point I was making, and now I get to talk to someone, I don't just talk to random, I can just talk to you guys. So the point I was sort of making is, all this madness started in COVID. My question was, when you guys struggled for 10 years leading up to 2020, 2021, when Perth had days on market slower than everywhere else in the country. I had a client at the time in Bunbury, wonderful young man. Oh, young man, he's a bit younger than me, but not much. Jay Stanley down in Bunbury. And Jay was telling me, Glenn, and this is years ago, this is prior to COVID, he said, Glenn, I got into real estate 13 years ago. The market was horrible then, and it's gotten 5% worse every year since. And so they had a hard market down in Bunbury. Days on market, 6 months to sell a home. It was horrible. My question is, where was this mob when agents were struggling to sell properties, when the supply and demand curve was the other way round? They were nowhere to be seen. They didn't have a mob, critiquing the buyers, saying those poor real estate agents are having a hard time selling a property. No. Their knowledge of supply and demand didn't matter then, but now that you guys have had a few years, and I'm not even saying it's easy now, it's just easier to sell the property when there's less supply than there is demand. The job of a real estate agent right now is actually getting a property to sell. And I don't know if you caught this part at the start of my talk when I showed your taking of that photo to show to the consumers that you have buyers. So if anyone is considering selling, they should call you up because you've got 120 people, 119 of which missed out on that property that, so you've got demand. So if someone wants to sell, they should come to you because you've got 119 buyers sitting there in the wings. So, and then, I sort of made the point that if you did anything other than what you did, you were breaching the law. And the point I didn't make in that when I saw your message, and I really appreciate you guys jumping on so we can talk about it, but if you guys did anything other than what you did, marketed the property extraordinarily well to get 120 people to show up, what that means is thousands of people saw it, because if 120 show up, then thousands saw it to go, yes for me, no it's not, right? So thousands of people saw it due to your effective marketing. 120 people I'm assuming it was the first open, showed up to view it. And then multiple people wanted to put up their hand to buy it. And you were to put them in a multiple, and you can correct me on all of this. I'd love to know if this is how you went. You put them in a multiple offer situation where I described at least how it worked in Queensland according to the Real Estate Institute of Queensland's best practice, where they say we're to inform everyone they're in a multiple offer situation. They won't have a chance to renegotiate because the owners is going to pick. So make your best offer knowing that you will not have a chance to go up. So if you miss out by $5,000, you've missed out. So give me that $5,000 now if you were going to go 5,000 more in the event that's what it would have taken to get this deal across. Like no coming back to me later and sooking about it. And you'd never be that crass. And so I'm assuming 10 odd people, if I was saying 120 people came, I'm guessing at least 10 wanted to buy it. And the point I make before you guys can say, no, Glenn, you got all of that wrong. Anything other than what you did was a jailable offense. If you'd have sold it to someone who you took pity on, even if your heart was in the right place, like this mob probably is. This mob is frustrated. They're probably frustrated at housing prices. It ain't your fault, because if you'd have taken pity on one of those buyers and sold it to a buyer for $690 or whatever the mob would have deemed appropriate, you're going to jail for a little while because you've broken that fiduciary obligation. Maybe not jail, but certainly heavy fines, massive legal problems, because you don't have the choice to breach that fiduciary obligation unless the seller says to you, I want you to find me a little battler. Don't worry about how much you sell it for. Cool. Don't worry about the highest price. You find me an Aussie battler and I'll sell it to him for 700 and not a penny more. Anything other than those specific instructions by your seller, you're breaking the law to do what that mob would have wanted you to do. So my last point before I noticed you guys were on was you can't blame these guys or any real estate agent for doing effective marketing, effective negotiation on behalf of their seller, getting a premium price. And if the laws of supply and demand, as dictated by building approvals by your government, who you happily voted for and elected and then re-elected, that is where your price of homes discussions and complaints must be leveled, not at these two fine people. Actually, I don't even know if you're fine people because we're meeting for the first time now. But these two people who have composed themselves in a professional manner, in my opinion, far too professionally for my liking, because they almost tried to be professional in the face of this onslaught. and this onslaught, oh, that's why I jumped on, because these guys are being really nice and professional, which again, I'm not saying they shouldn't be, but I'm saying I would not have been, because those criticisms that you guys suffered were unfair, and had you have caved to them, you would have been breaking the law. So if you guys can maybe bring me up to speed, I don't know how much of my ranting that you saw, but did I get anything wrong? And were you sitting there in the comment thread champing at the bit going, but I wanted to know, Glenn, you got that wrong. But, so thank you for jumping on, and please correct anything that I kind of got wrong and tell us sort of your side of the story.
No, thank you for having us on, Glenn. You didn't get any of that wrong. In fact, even the numbers that you mentioned in regards to obviously how many people would have seen the ad, the number of offers that we've received, and the way we sort of communicated that with buyers in regards to the multiple offer scenario is word for word what you said.
Wow. Oh,
they
great.
were all informed. They were given an opportunity to put their best foot forward. We do take time to communicate very effectively with all our buyers. Like, we take that job very seriously as well. That's part of our personal brand. It's not, obviously, like you said, our job is to get the highest price for the seller, and no seller wants us to get lower than the highest price. However, we take pride in dealing with our buyers effectively and fairly, as per we feel we should. And we did that. We did everything that you said.
They actually all got a fair opportunity.
Yeah.
So we actually ended up with 11 offers on this property. 50% of them were actually investors, so not homeless people struggling, as the trolls were stating on our social media page. And every single offer had the opportunity to make their offer more attractive, before we actually presented the offers to the seller. So
I tell you, there's a whole bunch of agents that would have even gone that far, Lisa. I tell you, that is you guys going above and beyond, because I know some of these agents, when they're getting, because it's easier not to do it the way you did it. It's easier just to go to the first offer, convince the seller this is great. Hey, look, I got you your price plus $10,000. Aren't I magnificent? When they left $90,000 on the table, I remember when we had a boom when I was listing and selling in Queensland. It was early in my career. I was in for maybe a few years. And I know, God, I almost don't want to admit this because, oh no, maybe there's a statute of limitations that I can't get sued. But I know I sold to a buyer too early in the process, and the seller was happy. So you had a happy Glenn, you had a happy seller, but I know that because I didn't have the skills that I do now, that I broke that fiduciary obligation unwittingly, because I did not get the high. I sold it to the first person who saw the property. As I'm hammering in the sign, there's an offer coming in. So, no one was upset at me. Everyone was happy.
Mm.
Yeah. So.
Correct. Yeah. I think every agent's done that in the past. And now we know, time is of the essence, but we actually drew this one out about 4 or 5 days after the offers came in, to give every single buyer out there an opportunity to have a crack at this particular property. So we couldn't have done it better. And obviously we've got a very happy buyer and a very happy seller. And all those buyers that missed out, honestly, Glenn, we have had nothing but positive feedback from them with the way we dealt with the process, because we were so transparent. And we actually, some of them we met with face to face when they put their offer in, because some of them were first home buyers. So they were a little bit, unsure of how this process worked. They were a bit nervous. So we sit down with them and we guide them. And obviously we get the absolute best price out of them, because that's our job. But we have not had any negative feedback whatsoever from the buyers. Everyone's actually,
In fact, what we get specifically is we get positive feedback in that, you guys are, you guys are different to some of the others. We don't even hear back sometimes, or, we don't even get told whether they received our offer. But thank you for communicating with us, and at least it's been refreshing. We hope we can buy a property from you.
And yet here's the thing, isn't that beautiful? I was once known in my agency as the smiling assassin, because I would be nice and I would use rapport that I built at open homes when I am nice, and I do follow up, and I'm one of the few that did, and as are you, which is wonderful. Because it's funny you say that, Ray. I did a mystery shop. This goes back 15 years. I did a mystery shop of real estate agents over in Southeast Queensland. Visited 150 real estate agencies at their open house. And it was fascinating that that 109 out of the 150 made no follow-up attempts whatsoever.
Wow.
2/3. And I recently did one, not to that degree. I didn't do 150 this last time. I did another 50 over here in Perth, and I redid that experiment maybe a year ago. And the numbers weren't that dissimilar. It was I know I did 35 of them, and a team that I had out doing did another 15. And I remember specifically that out of 35 that I did, I got, other than generic email responses that were just rubbish, I ignore them. So I'm only counting phone calls or SMSs. I got 0 phone calls. I got 5 SMSs, and 4 of the SMSs, not one word had been changed out of the open house template. You know, the Home Pass app that some agents use.
Yep.
The wording was identical, and the only thing that was changed was the address and the agent's name. So they hadn't even adjusted the template to personalize it. Only 1 out of 35 gave me a generic, seemingly human-ish response, and none of them was good enough. None of them. So you're going above and beyond to actually follow up to the point where you are seen by those buyers as, wow, I want to buy from you. And think about how good that is. You're extracting a premium price by going above and beyond, by getting great marketing to have a full open home, and then going around and, well, actually, do you do it face-to-face, or do you use one of those online offer submission platforms?
It's a mixed bag, to be honest, Glenn. So this particular one, we met with a couple of people face-to-face,
Right.
but we send all the buyers an intent to offer form. So they fill that in before we actually go to the contractual stage.
Right.
And then we obviously look at all of those, and then we get back to each buyer that has put one of those intents forward, and we give them the opportunity to up their offer before we actually go into the contract stage.
And the way I talked about it before, just to go a little deeper on that, because I don't know about the legality of it, because it's been so long since I studied the law side of it. But I don't think doing what's commonly known as a Dutch auction, and I don't think that it's an appropriate name. But where they do go, hey, Lisa, you're at 720. Can you go to 730? Because I've got another guy at 725. Maybe beat him by, and go back and forth privately, disclosing numbers. Because I know that was considered a no-go zone back 20 years ago in Queensland. So you guys are just saying, hey, need your best offer, last chance. What's it going to be? Great. Then submit them all to the seller, and then we're done. Yeah.
We let them know that they're in a multiple offer situation. So we have said to each buyer, there are 9 offers. You're not the highest. Would you like to make your offer more attractive? And then it's up to them where they go from there. So, yeah. And
no figures, no. And you mentioned online platform, Glenn. That's not something we do. There are obviously a number of agents that do it, and it works effectively for them. But again, because we feel that's a little less personal for the way we want to go about it, we much prefer ringing, speaking with them, potentially meeting with them if they prefer that. But we do feel we go above and beyond, because we could put up an online platform. They just put figures on there, and then
we
that's
don't,
it.
we don't have any personal communication.
Yeah, so that's just not the way we like.
Yeah, and that's not the way to extract that extra 5% for your sellers. Because again, think about how many Aussies say you doing it face to face. And by the way, I believe this because I had mouse pads printed. Click from place to face, because online's wonderful, but don't forget face to face.
We need one of those.
Right? You guys got it. It'll be in the mail, guys. And now, whenever you're tempted to do things online instead of getting face to face, I'll be sitting there waving the finger saying, click from place to face. Because when you're face to face, that's when you can look them in the eye and make my team, when I used to train my team the way I did it, I'd make all these investments in what I'd call the rapport bank when I meet them at the open house, when I'm nice, when I'm friendly, when I'm just a genuine person. And then I make withdrawals from that rapport bank at one time and one time only. When I say to them, I'm going to need some more money from you. I want you to own this place. Congratulations. You've picked your family home. The kids you're going to raise your kids here. I loved it seeing at the open that the kids picked out their bedrooms already. That was an absolute pleasure to meet you and the kids and the family. You're going to have to sharpen the pencil on this, or all I'm saying is, no, you're not going to have to. I don't have to force you to do that. But all I'm saying is, if one of those other offers is $20,000 more, hypothetically, than yours is right now, are you going to be upset that you don't have a chance to at least match it? And now while I'm face to face, even now, I saw you guys just subtly nod, right? I'm on the lookout for your subtle nodding, because that's the one time, that's how I'm earning my fee. Because when I get you that extra $35,000, if it's the family home, it's tax-free, no capital gains tax. How often does an Aussie just have $35,000 windfall tax-free? This is the last chance, because most Aussies never get to save that amount of money. Most Aussies never get that. So when I'm sitting there doing that, making that withdrawal from the rapport bank and getting that extra money for the seller, that's when I'm worth it. And you just can't do that with one of those online platforms. You can't be looking at YouTube, even though you guys knew we were role playing. Your subtle little nodding that you did, I'm watching for it because I've trained myself to watch for it, that when I ask for that in a face-to-face consumer, and I'm saying, look, if you were going to miss out on that thing by 20, by 10, what if you missed out by $1,000? Are you going to be upset you didn't have a chance to match it at the very least? And then that subtle little nod, I'm on the lookout for it, and Ray just did it again and Lisa didn't. Now I know Ray's on and I need to convince Lisa. I tell you, those are the skills of an effective real estate negotiator. And, and that's kind of the, even little things like, I remember once I did this, and look, this turned into a training session. It shouldn't be. I mean, to tell the public you're wrong for vilifying these guys. But I remember once I had a good rapport with the buyer, lots of deposits in the rapport bank. He really liked me. And we were at a bar signing this up, which is, again, long time ago, statute of limitations. I hadn't had much to drink, but I'd had maybe half of one beer. And I motioned to his wallet, seeing that it had at least a $50 note in it. And I just said to him, motioning to his wallet, I went, may I? And he laughed and said, okay. I picked his wallet for his last $152. I picked his pocket and I said, why don't you throw this on there? It just might be the difference. Because he was maxed out. That was it. And I knew then that I was paying for the drinks. And I picked his pocket for his last $152. That's why we are paid well when we don't do what the buyer wants as fair, right? It's not about getting the buyer their best outcome. We've got to be honest, fair, and professional. And what you guys did was above and beyond professional, transparent, so definitely honest, and everyone knew what the situation was, so it was more than fair. And anything less than that in favor of the buyer is you breaking the law.
Yeah.
Do you know, Glenn, we had the actual buyer of this particular property said to us that he had been trying to purchase properties prior, and the agents only gave him one opportunity, never came back to obviously get more out of him. And when he found out what the property actually went for, he said he would have been prepared to pay a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
See,
so
I'm not going to hang.
all
All I would say is, so long as the agents are clear, because we sometimes did it in a one shot. In fact, most of the time we did our multiple offers with a one shot without any chance to go up. But we would be very clear that you made your offer. I didn't wait to come back to get more. I would say, now, Lisa, I need you to know, I appreciate the offer of 720, and I loved meeting the kids at the open. There was an honor. I loved seeing little Mark pick out his room. I see he's got his sights set on that downstairs bedroom, the teenagers retreat. Wonderful. I hope you can, I'm going to try and get this for you. Know that you are in a multiple offer situation. So there's at least 9 other people as it stands today. And I know my partner Ray is out there hustling up some more, because that's our job to do so. So there's a lot of people wanting to own this property, including you guys. And I want you guys to put yourself in the best possible position to do so. So if one of those other offers that Ray gets, and let me tell you, he's a bit of a negotiating brute. He uses that Indian. Now, I'm assuming Indian or Malaysia. I don't know, Ray. I don't know. But what I would use, use your race against you, Ray. But it's for you because you're in my team. I would say Ray is out there. He's got that Indian negotiation skill. He is brutally good at this. And if he was able to get, say, 725 or 750 or whatever it is, are you going to be upset that you didn't have a chance to at least match it? Right? That's what I'm testing, whether their offer, there is more in it. And then what I end up saying is, once we get them to say 735, whatever it might be, wherever they're at, and they say, yeah, look, that's it. And I say, okay, so look, I need to keep asking you that question I just asked you until you pick up that chair you're sitting on, throw it at the wall and say, and I say all this with a joking tonality, but I say it. So I say, I need you to, you need to throw that chair at the wall and say, for $1 more, $1, Ray and his bloody whatever can go and jam it, right? And so it's kind of like I'm overly dramatizing that, but that's what I say. I sort of say, so if this goes for even $1 more, you're happy to have missed out, yes? Because all I'm just trying to avoid, Lisa, is you coming back to me, having missed out by whatever it might be, and you being upset about it. All right. That's all I'm trying to do. So no one can come back to me after I've gone to that length. Now that's going to a length to get more money, but the buyer thinks it's going to a length to make sure they're informed, but it does both. It does both, you know. So I'm okay with not going back to them a second time if you've done it right the first time. Especially when you've got 10 of them you're signing up. No wonder you extended it 4 or 5 days.
Just want to comment, Glenn. You would have, I'm sure, obviously touched on the original post, which is what has caused, you know, all of this. And something that's very human, particularly for Lisa. And, you know, the article does mention this. She is genuinely out there looking to buy a property right now. She is facing the hardship of multiple offers, buyers, you know, communication, lining up. So obviously the intent of the post, a lot of people thought the intent of the post was to make fun of people or to laugh or to, you know, something along those lines, some negative. I mean, why would we do that when we are in the process of trying to find out and finding it really hard? So
and Ray, if Lisa was what's being described in those posts, you know what she would have done? She would have said to that seller, tell you what I'll do. I'll waive my commission. Thus, Lisa won't incur her fiduciary obligation. She doesn't take the listing on at all, right? She would have then said, oh, you want 700? Tell you what I'll do. I'll give you 5% premium just as a courtesy and a service to you. So I'll give you 735,000, you lucky son of a gun. And we don't even need to do. That's what she would have done if she was the evil person that mob is saying.
Correct.
She would have taken advantage, and she wouldn't have been breaking the law, because if Lisa doesn't incur the fiduciary obligation, she has no obligation to that seller. She's just a member of the public buying. Now you can bet the mob wouldn't have been happy about it, but Lisa did the moral thing, took it to the market, got them a premium outcome, and then copped flack for it. But all I would say is to that, there are no agents that get 1,000 comments on a post ever. So even though there's some problems that a lot of those posts were primarily negative, I did notice amongst the negative there was some positive ones, and all of your buyers that met you were positive. I bet you the 120 people, even though they were probably shitty that they're out in the sun and it's hot and all of that, but you would have been lovely people. Following up 120 people would have been a nightmare. But if it sounds like you guys are at the top of the game, getting vilified like the scumbags of the game.
Yes.
We were peaking, Glenn. Like, we actually had a brilliant open that day. The people were awesome. We interacted with pretty much all of them. They were all like, obviously lining up in the sun. It was a bit warm, but we were all chuckling. You know, they were like, "Oh, this is crazy," and you know, there was nothing negative about it at all. We just wanted to share it because we were like, "Wow, this is what's happening on our Saturday," you know, as real estate agents. Like,
well, we're getting into a coaching session now. In that now that you've got the spotlight on you, you can bet your butt there might be reporters coming and all of that. So next time, actually, in fact, make it, well, here's me going on like you're paying me for coaching advice, but I'm going to give you unwanted coaching advice, a very silly thing for me to do, but I'm going to do it. Make your open homes as amazing as they can be. Not only am I going to send you this, I'm going to send you a copy of my open home training, and it'll talk about making your open homes so good that when someone visits open home A, B, and C, and D, all they remember is when they meet you, there's signage and bunting everywhere. There's people everywhere. They're greeted by a separate person. If you guys have got 2 of you, they're greeted by one of you and shown around a little bit informally. You know, not like, say, Lisa, you're greeting and you're being smiles and all of that, and then Ray shows them around. Well, Ray doesn't put mum under one arm and dad under the other and go, when are we moving in, folks? Or, no, he's just there to answer questions and things. They get an esky full of ice cold soft drink, bottle of water, whatever it might be. So maybe some individually wrapped snacks for the kids, even some branded coloring, materials for the kids to keep them happy while mum and dad have a look around. Just make your open home an event. So that your consumers, that when you follow up, and it's almost like you can say, hey, it's Lisa, how was today? Hey, that was a lot of fun. And they don't go, who are you? We saw 6 opens today. They go, oh, Lisa, it was so good. You know, like, it's almost like you could almost call them up and say, hey, it's me. And they'll know who you meant. Because your open home was such an experience, as opposed to the mystery shop that I did, because that's why I did the mystery shop, was to showcase where we're at so I could make my clients' opens if say a home buyer visited 6 opens that day, they visit 6 ordinary ones, and then yours, they're out in the hot sun and they get beautiful branded water with the property pair labels on that water. You know, they get a property pair takeaway show bag full of information about the local area property
show bags.
prices.
We should do show bags.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
All
our
of
home
the above.
opens, we have little parties. The music's going, like you said, cool drinks, and everyone's just, it's always
Nice.
a good vibe.
And especially if you know there's going to be 100, bring someone else from the team. Now, I don't know everyone in the agency, but I do know one of your old school legends, Paul Tonich. So you say to Paul, come along to my open. Glenn Twiddle said you had to, right? And get him to be the water bitch, where he's going up and down the queue with the
I'm sure he'd be stoked, Glenn.
Glenn said you have to do this.
Tell Tono, you're going to be the property pairs water bitch. So yeah, when there's going to be a busy open, again, grab a teenager and pay him $20 an hour for 2 hours to be the water bitch. And I say that disrespectfully, I don't mean that, but just to be part of the hosting team, to make sure that person who is number 105 in that queue in the hot sun gets a bottle of water and said, look, Lisa's she does this pretty quickly. She'll be with you in a sec. Here you go, water or Coke or Diet Coke. What do you want, kind of thing.
100%. Yeah.
That person just goes,
that's what we use our kids for.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Ripper. All right. Well, I'm going to go and comment to all of these people in the comments. But I tell you, given that, look, a lot of my followers are real estate agents, so you've got a lot of support in this thread at the very least.
I appreciate it.
But I would welcome the reporter. Oh, yeah, actually, one last thing I want to say before I sign off with you guys here, certainly, because maybe you guys might cut the reporter some slack, because I'm going to cut her some slack that this might be unwitting, because I still think this was fueled by the article, even though, and you can tell your story like you said when I first reached out quickly to say, hey, if you want to jump on, here's a link. Got to go, jumping on. That the reporter, even if it was unwitting, still did some things that fueled that mob. And here's why. Like, when the report says, and let me bring, now I don't know what happens if I share this with you guys. No, I thought we might all come up and block. So I'm not going to share the screen again because it'll get rid of you guys. So I don't want to do that. But I will have a look at the report and I will say, okay, so even the headline, real estate forced to defend tone-deaf online post showing photo of rammed inspection. And there's sort of point number one. Our industry is not respected, because have you ever heard us call the real estate, love? They don't call us the real estate agent. They call us the real estate. But when they say all of those things, when they say, another wrote, imagine being this tone deaf. You're lapping up the spoils of misery like the mercenary scum you are. And real estate agents wonder why nobody likes them, blah and blah and blah and blah. And then they say to you, defend yourself. That in and of itself is fueling the fire. It's like me saying to that reporter, and I don't even want to say to the reporter, because she may be doing this unwittingly. What I will say is the editor of the publication, because they are the ones that write the headline. Oftentimes in journalism, the reporters write the article and then the editor writes the headline, and their job is to get eyeballs. So I'm not even really hanging out Perth now, because their industry is declining and they are no longer in the job of just journalism. They are in the job of getting eyeballs, like we all are, like you are, like I am. And so their job is to get controversy and fuel up and rile up the mob. And that's exactly what they did. And let me make the point. Say this editor's name's Matt. I don't know who it is. How funny would it be if it was Matt? And we say to Matt, mate, these pedophile accusations that we're hearing all about, I've heard someone say, Matt's a pedo from way back. Can you just respond to that and tell me why you're not a pedo? Look at how Matt now has to justify that statement. It's now out there that the accusation is, and there's a whole bunch of people that will say when there's smoke, there's fire, Matt, you're a pedo. Because a concept was introduced, and in order to make sense of the question, the presupposition must be that it's potentially true. So by them saying, like the mercenary scum you are, how do you respond? Or even when they do make some where they are saying, okay, so probably pair shared a photo, market slowing down, defend after it came under harsh scrutiny, no. And real estate agents, glad your agency found this amusing. No, then there's your response. There was something where, and I can't remember the exact thread, the exact quote. Oh, what did I do with my Zoom? I've lost my Zoom. I've lost you guys. There you are. But there was something like, in the question was a presupposition that it's true. And so, you know, say the presupposition is all real estate agents are evil. You know, it's something, there's a presupposition in there saying, evil real estate agent does this bad thing and lines up properties everywhere, and they do all this bad stuff with people and buyers, and they have no empathy. Real estate agents defend themselves. Well, smuggled in on that question was evil real estate agents, and they're asking you to answer for multiple charges in the one question. And you can't say, well, first off, not all real estate agents are evil. Secondly, here's why we did this. Here's why we did this. Like there is implied implications in that article that the very writing of the article does a disservice to the reader and to the target of that article, even if his intent was, hey, this mob jumped on you, defend yourself. Well, by quoting the mob, it puts fuel on the fire with implication that those things are justified. And I think that's just totally unfair given what we've talked about today.
Yeah,
Okay.
Glenn, it's pretty bad. We've actually received death threats, like, to our phone.
Phones, yeah.
Yeah, out of control.
That
Ray
does my head
told
in.
he should hang himself with his tie, and you know, yeah, it's disgusting. You know,
And these are coming from these supposedly empathetic, lovely, all-inclusive, lovely people who are sitting there with their moral high horse saying how moral and ethical they are, and yet they'll send you.
Yeah.
That's horrible. World's gone mad. World's gone.
It sure has. It's
Yeah.
we're in shock.
Yes.
And here we are.
And we're still getting over it a little
And
bit. So yeah.
Yeah. Look at the chaos it's caused. So.
Well, here's what I would do. And this is now, again, whoa, it'll be a month. Well, I don't know how long it's going to take. Because normally real estate agents, even if they're getting rubbish in their online marketing, my advice to real estate agents is to do this. And it's going to be a lot for you guys to do this. Maybe make someone else also a commenter on your page so that they can follow my advice here under your voice, or you guys just do it all. It'll just take you a while. And here's my take that I recommend for real estate agents to do. Say you've got a listing, right? And there's 89 comments. And I remember me and Paul Tonich many, many years ago, maybe 15 years ago, before even Facebook had an advertising platform, me and Paul used to swap very early social media strategies, because before Paul joined the agency, he had his own company, you know, and he used to get me to come and speak to his team from time to time, you know, well early in this space. And Paul, I learned a lot from him, and I'm honored that he, you know, wanted me to be in his office teaching his guys as well. Bloody honored. And so what I would train agents to do in they've got a listing, it's got 89 comments, some of which are people tagging their wives saying, hey, you know, I remember I saw one not so long back, and it had someone tagging their partner saying, hey, it was a wife tagging husband saying, hey, babe, get a better job. I want to buy this place. And hubby, you know, she's having a crack at hubby. And then hubby comes back, I'm trying, babe, whatever. That's a buying signal, you know. Yeah. So some of them will be positive like that, but there'll be the odd one that's negative. Real estate agents are scumbags, right? So my advice is for you guys, go through every single comment, 890 plus of them, 1,000 probably by now, whatever. Go through them all. If they're positive and it's 4 lines long, respond with 2 to 5 lines of a response. Just whatever comes in your head. So if that means you've got to do it on your phone where you just dictate that and you just talk the words so it's faster, fine, no problem. So very, very human, very authentic and real, and acknowledge their positivity with some sort of thank you. But if they write 3 paragraphs of how awesome you are, don't just say thanks. You know what I mean? Like, respond according to what they've done in their input. If they've said dickheads, then respond with 1 word saying, cheers, mate. Nice of you. You know, or 1 word, classy. There you go. Dickheads, your response, classy, right? So respond with whatever comes to your head, with the exception of this. If it's narky, but you kind of get a witty comeback that kind of like that, if there was dickheads classy, I'd leave that. If it was pure toxicity, horror, right? Something that you don't want there, and you wouldn't even want your kids to read it. then you hide and ban and delete them so they can never comment again and they can never see your nonsense again. You're doing them a favor by blocking them and banning them and getting them gone. So true toxicity, hide, ban, delete. Just narky, but you've got a good comeback for them. Respond, because it's not that you're trying. Here's the point. You're not trying to turn them around. You won't. What you're trying to do is have the moral high ground when anyone looks at that thread and sees you maintaining dignity and class, even if you are being a bit, rebuttal, like you're kind of saying, aren't you a classy son of a gun, when they've said you real estate agents are all dickheads. You say, well, way to judge everyone. Do I come and annoy you while you're flipping burgers? I don't know. Look, maybe you wouldn't be that classless, but keep somewhere there's a reason for you to keep it, where you are seen as the winner in the moral debate from someone who's saying something narky. Because, like I say, it's not the commenter you're trying to convince, it's the external third-party viewers, which now you've got more of, which is a good thing. So you want to go through, turn that 898 comments into 2,000, because 1,000 of them will be now you. And now if it gets back and forth too much, don't worry about that too much. Just let it hang. Because remember, it's all just about what the external third-party observer, they see you trying to defend yourself. They know you can't do everything, but you're doing your best,
Well, we've been fortunate enough, Glenn, to have people defend us without us doing it ourselves.
Get on there and thank them.
We will. That's great. That's really good feedback.
Yeah, it seems to be turning around now, whereas, all the lovers are coming in now and really
get on there.
So we're just sitting back going, well, my kids had to silence my notifications because I don't have the thickest skins. So it was affecting me a little bit and I wanted to delete the post. And then obviously Ray came in and said, no, don't delete it.
Good job, Ray.
We've done nothing wrong. Obviously.
Because think about it. As agents, what would you rather? Now take that action and be cool and whatever. I teach agents to try and do everything they can to get some interaction from the public. And if you get some interaction, even if it is positive, like, if you have a look at Naomi Twyford's page, she's up north, Carramar, Joondalup up there. She's only been in the game listing and selling for a year, but she's been doing it. And now she's only part-time in real estate. Right? And you have a look at how she gets interaction with the public. Now, every now and then she gets narky stuff, and that's okay. Now, your one post is way over the top. No posts ever get thousands, although from time to time, a good, well-run, highly desirable contest will get thousands of entries. Naomi just recently did a back-to-school contest, and she didn't have time to get the hamper together, so she just did a gift card. But she had, I don't even know how many, but she did tell me she got lots and lots and lots of entries, so that's all good. But what my teaching is, especially like we say with those, if there are people now defending you, you cannot let that good behavior that you want go unencouraged. You need to thank them, because think about what they did. They leapt to your defense. Maybe some of them you don't even know. You need to thank that behavior, because that's the sort of behavior you want to encourage. It's like when your kids do something good, you give them a pat on the head and put their work on the fridge. You know what I mean? So now that sounds condescending, but don't leave those people who did the right thing by you, whether it's just a post encouraging in the first place, or whether it's someone leaping to the fence saying why these haters are wrong. Go and comment and thank all of them. It's going to take you forever. But what else have you got to do? Your job is to be interacting with the public. And now you've got an opportunity to interact with thousands of them and thank them, debate with them, get amongst it. Because most real estate agents are begging, saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. Well, you've got that problem. Now your job is to be classy now that they're looking at you.
Yeah, we might as well leverage off it.
Absolutely.
We had to, process it all and go, but now, we're going to definitely take some positives out of this. So
I would throw an article up as well, maybe saying, as reported by Perth Now, the most buyer in demand. No, I'm getting the words wrong here, so maybe chuck this sort of principle into ChatGPT and get some headlines. But Perth's most buyer attracting real estate combo, buyer demand in excess of records, as quoted by Perth Now. If you want to sell, give us a call, kind of thing. Like, get that message out there as quoted by Perth now, and use it to your advantage to actually have something to say. Because most of the time, real estate agents can't find anything that they want to talk about in their public facing stuff. Because if you just go, oh, I got another listing. Like, you know, now I'm not saying we shouldn't have our listings up and marketed. We should. But don't think the community's going to care about your goddamn next listing most of the time. Because think about it. It's like if you go to McDonald's. Imagine if you saw the local McDonald's manager and said, hey, folks, guess what? Glenn Twiddle here, manager of McDonald's. Journal up. Burgers have arrived. Yeah, I know. the truck, right? We got burgers to sell. How good are we? Like, the public thinks we're that crazy, and they're right in some ways. We sell houses and we make a big deal that we've got a house to sell. They think, why are these guys, like, what's wrong with these people? You know what I mean? So we're always looking for something else to sell other than we listed something or we sold something to talk about. And you guys have got the prime opportunity to milk this for all it's worth, and I would recommend doing so.
Awesome. All right, that's good advice.
Controversy.
We'll take your advice.
Absolutely, Glenn. Appreciate it. Thank
Run
you.
it by Tono and make sure he agrees with me, because he's always been...
Good boy.
Yeah, he's been my man. I've loved Paul forever, ever since those early days when we would swap ideas in the very, very early days of Facebook marketing. And, you know, he's always been one of the gold standards. So if you've got him in your brand, definitely avail yourself of that brain, because it's a solid one. So
Oh, sweet. We'll do.
Cool, guys. Thanks for jumping on.
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Glenn.
I'm going to
See
go
you on
and
the other side.
I'm going to go and thank some of people in our followers down here on Facebook and thank them for jumping on and